When it comes to fleet safety, new drivers are a key risk factor. Nauto can help you identify the issues and minimize the risks, especially distracted driving.
There's a lot of other programs to improve safety out on the market already. Many of them have good results and do move the needle on safety. Examples are programs that focus on the quality of the drivers that you're hiring. That can be looking at their motor vehicle record, can be looking at a training program that you start or go through before you even get put in the driver's seat. Some of the larger companies have academies where drivers spend as much as 4 to 6 weeks going through training, both classroom and behind the wheel. These programs definitely work. We see that new drivers are one of the biggest risk factors. Usually the collision rate in the first 12 months of a new driver is much higher than it is later on after they're experienced. They're trying to figure out their route, their job, the vehicle itself. And so we think those are very complementary to what Nauto's doing. Some of the assessment after the driver is hired, they're typically Nauto will give you a much more granular insight into who's risky and why and what do they need to change. By the time it shows up in your motor vehicle record, it's a little bit late. We want to get the feedback to the driver before they actually get into a high-risk situation or a collision, so they get that feedback instantaneously while driving. And you don't want to wait until it shows up in your motor vehicle record as a speeding ticket or as a collision. So it's great in the hiring process. It's great in setting up your fleet and in finding the right individuals. It's probably not as big a difference anymore once you've got the AI program running. We do see most of the fleets we go into already have telematics, so they can track their vehicles. They're used to looking at hard braking as a proxy. Most of them do some kind of motor vehicle record check to make sure they're not hiring known bad drivers. But we typically see, even with that as a starting point, they've done coaching, they've done motor vehicle checks. We still see very high risk rates, particularly for risks that people have not been tracking. The top one consistently across all the 800 fleets we're in is distraction. Distraction doesn't show up on your motor vehicle record typically. It's massively underreported. Drivers don't usually self-report, oh, I used my phone on this drive. And you also see that it's not picked up by telematics. And so until you have a computer vision AI system, you won't know how distracted your drivers are. We see really high rates when we go into a fleet, usually between 4 and 6 distractions per moving hour, per driving hour. But we've seen as high as 26 distractions per driving hour. And if you think about that for a second, that means every 2 minutes you're distracted. It's nonstop. And generally, we can reduce that by at least 80%. In some fleets, we've been able to eliminate distractions altogether.